wah wah whoop wop zeep zop boop bop doop.
Weep scoop,
dab dab doop bop whoop wop woo wop scoop dab doop dab dab. Words, language, making sounds with our mouths. It's how we communicate. We like to think we're all high and mighty because of our evolved form of linguistics, but really, we're just another animal making funny noises. No better than sheep.
Aww. Oh.
Or lions. I would know. I talk for a living. Sometimes I reread a line so many times that the words completely lose their meaning. Sometimes I reread a line so many times that the words completely lose their meaning. Sometimes I read a line so many times that the words completely lose their meaning. Sometimes I want to quit, but I won't, because there's people that piss me off. Like, let's say, Jubilee, for example. And I'm so self-centered that I can't just talk about it with my friends. I gotta talk about it with the entire internet. But the beauty of this is that you can disagree. I put weeks of my life into a video encapsulating my opinion on a topic I think is important, and you can just sit there and say, yeah, no. And based on the validity of your criticism, I can choose to accept it or not. Like if you say something like, okay, crybaby, on a video about the damages of Western ideation of colonized countries, I will curse you and your family, because clearly you didn't watch the video. But again, that's fine. Freedom of speech, or whatever the I don't care. I don't even know why I brought this up. Oh, right, talking. This is a productive form of communication where I am held to a standard and am expected to meet said standard. Now, obviously, this form of communication is very different from having a conversation. Talking with your friends or your peers, something I don't need to do anymore because I have you guys. Just kidding, discussion is very important. In fact, I think it's one of the most important things that humans can do to connect, to be vulnerable and share themselves and their experiences with one another, especially when there are differing opinions. Now, opinions are a lot more polarizing now than ever before, so it's very easy for conversations to snowball into arguments or debates.
Which are very different than conversations. Debates are not conversations, nor will they ever match up to the humanity and selflessness it takes to have conversations.
But we'll get into that later. For now, we need to start the video, because I'm going to start getting comments like, oh, the video starts at 3:15. Do you not want to be entertained? I'm an entertainer. I'm your personal jester plastering a smile on my face so I can beg for your money and attention.
Deep dab doop dab doop bap boop bop boop bop beep bop boop bop beep bop boop bop.
Now, I would like to bring your attention to the YouTube channel Jubilee, which attempts a plethora of different series with a plethora of different groups of people, clearly trying to get as many relatability points as possible. A lot of the stuff they do tends to be pretty silly and stupid, like Find the Fuckboy featuring Cody Co and Nut, or 5th graders versus one secret adult.
I'm a 5th grader.
I'm a 5th grader. I'm a 5th grader. I'm a 5th grader. I'm a 5th grader. I am a 5th grader.
And I'm an adult.
What the
However, I want to talk about one series in particular. A series that claims to be awe-inspiring and life-changing. A serious series that's seriously seriesed. Jubilee's Middle Ground, where they essentially take two opposing groups of people and sit them together to have a conversation and attempt to reach some sort of middle ground. However, there is never really a middle ground met, because more often than not, these conversations turn into heated, non-fact-checked arguments. And what makes it worse is that the people behind Jubilee clearly love it. They love the controversy, they love the divide. They literally show off their most argumentative clips in the beginning to get you hooked for the rest of the video, when this is supposed to be an insightful discussion. It's how they make their money, all at the expense of marginalized people. Oh, trans people are trending? Trans conservatives versus trans liberals. Oh, a genocide is trending? Israelis versus Palestinians. And guess what? They've been doing this for so long that they're running out of ideas. And it's really obvious. Black conservatives versus white liberals. Liberal lesbians versus conservative lesbians. White feminists versus POC anti-feminist. What is this? The Oppression Olympics? I understand that's often a right-wing used term, but I can't think of a better word to describe this. Jesus. Jubilee is literally pitting mainly marginalized people against each other or against the people that oppress them for entertainment. You guys should have stopped after liberals and conservatives, but no. You had to keep going for 6 fucking years. Jubilee is veiling their videos as content that truly promotes understanding and creates human connection. But in reality, they're just rage baiting in order to monetize off of oppression. Now, I first want to talk about why these videos are so unproductive instead of the more sit-down, genuine conversational videos they're being advertised as. And that starts with defining the differences between conversations and debates. But before we get into that, here's a quick word from our sponsor, Mood. Today we might have the best sponsor ever. and it's pretty self-explanatory as to why. Mood is an online source for 100% federally legal cannabis that helps you quickly and easily get to your best mood. They ship discreetly to your door so your neighbors don't know you're fucking sick. No matter how you digest your cannabis, Mood has a solution for you. From pre-rolls to gummies to sweet treats to vapes, there is truly no lack of options. I personally love the Sleepy Time gummies. They helped me sleep when I took half. Taking a whole one made me see God, and he was not happy. We were gonna face off in a looks maxing competition, but then his PS5 Plus stopped updating, so we played Spider-Man 3. And that's when I learned that morality is subjective, and we're only made from the pieces that we pick up from the people that surround us. Try saying that 6 times fast. I did. They also have very high quality flower. Their dark rainbow strain is great if you're looking for something chill, even though that's not at all what it sounds like. Mood makes it a point that they help to support small American farmers who make all of this possible. It's almost like if heaven was real. Sure, capitalism sucks, but sometimes it can be great. If this is something that interests you and you're over 21, then use coupon code Saji20 to get a free THCA pre-roll and 20% off your first order. And Mood, I love you, and you should keep sponsoring my videos. Conversations with People Who Hate Me is a book written by author Dylan Marone and is essentially about creating genuine connections and conversations with people that oppose you. In this instance, it's with people that perceive you through an online presence. But hey, that's like everyone these days, am I right? I read this book last year, actually because of my mom. She started to read it and then thought it would be more helpful for me and my new line of work. The internet. Dylan Marone is a social figure that writes, acts, and works on podcasts, and majority of his work is political. So he gets a lot of aversion from oppositely stanced people. And because he is a gay man of color, a lot of it tends to be unjust hate rather than political critiques, ranging from low jabs to death threats. In this book, Dylan starts a podcast called Conversations with People Who Hate Me, where he has conversations with people who hate him. He hosts live calls with the people that left him hate mail, not to embarrass or corner them, but to come to some sort of understanding as two individuals with their own set of unique, although not equal, struggles. This isn't the game at all. There is nothing to be won. Success here is not determined by domination, but by connection. Josh is no longer my opponent, but my collaborator. We are working toward the same goal, moving to the same beat. And because we are united in our desire to understand each other, we are able to momentarily step outside of our conflict in order to view it from the same vantage point. This feels like a true conversation, which is to say it's the opposite of a game. It's a dance, and now I'm ready for the final spin. I love the dance analogy so much, it's beautiful. When you're truly connecting with someone via conversation, it's so reminiscent of the level of vulnerability and intimacy required for dance. This teamwork, however, is inherently missing among the realm of debate. A debate is a clash, it's an ego boost, it's a game. You don't come out of it hoping to reach an understanding, you come out of it hoping to win. Debate has enjoyed a long and healthy life in high school extracurricular organizations, political spheres, and college campuses. But its rebirth as a modern form of entertainment is more recent. The documentary Best of Enemies pinpoints 1968 as its cultural revitalization, when the broadcast network ABC hired two prominent writers to comment on the presidential election each night of the Republican and Democratic national conventions. More recently, this format seems to have been reborn on YouTube, where various opinion merchants post videos of themselves destroying their ideological foe as advertised by Photoshop thumbnails that juxtapose close-ups of their cartoonish faces in various stages of exaggerated indignation. And this is something that you see on both ends of the political spectrum. Astute, life-loving gentleman conservative destroys blue-haired feminist. Astute, life-loving gentleman liberal destroys stupid MAGA-pilled Republican. It's rage bait. It's unproductive. It's entertaining.
Set me free.
I can do what I want.
No, you
This
can't.
is America.
Oh, you want to go back to the first point?
Because you're not giving me the money. It was my money in the first place.
For yelling and protesting, I thought maybe you had some opinions that you'd like to voice.
No, that's what you want. Everything I said about Biden is true, you fucking idiot.
Wait, stop. With all this self-persecutory bullshit, I'm not interested in reading your fucking MySpace blog, okay?
I live as a capitalist. Okay, I live when I pay.
I think they talk about the Democrats more than the Republicans on the January 6th debate. Isn't that wild?
It gets you fired up, man. Who wouldn't want to see a bunch of narcissistic pseudo-intellectuals face off head-to-head? Or better yet, when they take on someone who is clearly less educated than them and much more naive. I can't even lie. Entertaining ass debates are the reason I became radicalized in the first place. I remember it like it was 4 years ago. Because it was. George Floyd's death, the height of the BLM protests. There was a collective and calculated rage in the air, and it spread like wildfire. Algorithms manipulating and changing the brain chemistry of an entire generation. And then it appeared as it was foretold in the prophecy. He shall become radicalized through the appeal of intellectual superiority, performative morality, and suitably owning said opposition. Destiny, Vosh, older Hassan debates. The debate bro sphere of left tube or bread tube sent me through the left-wing pipeline like a fucking bullet. And that's how it works on both ends of the spectrum. That's why it's a lot easier to fall down the right-wing pipeline as a kid. A lot more conservative pundits focus on the reactionary and performative aspects of politics because it's attractive. It's flashy, it's straight to the point. Gladiators taking on students who are sunken with student loan debt and can't even properly defend themselves because they don't even know how to debate. Who needs dignity when you can get 1 million views? This also provides major concern and in turn motivation for liberal or progressive debate lords. Noah Samson has a great video from a while back about the debate bro and debate sphere issue if you're looking to learn more about the topic. But at the end of the day, the desire to educate and inform yourself shouldn't be because you want to beat someone in an argument. It should be because you actually care about said topic and want to inform yourself. I mean, isn't that a part of the overarching praxis that is leftism, an ideology based within empathy? And unlike what these debate worms say, being good at debate does not correlate with truth. Being good at debate and winning a debate does not mean that your argument is objective fact or that you are more intelligent. It just means you're better at arguing. Debates are also just inherently unproductive. When you beat off on someone's face, when you beat someone in a face-off, I told you the words can completely lose their meaning. You're not encouraging them to understand your point of view. Instead, you're giving them motivation to then dive further into the biased research rabbit hole they were already in. You know what doesn't do that? Conversation. Dialogue is important. Video essays are important. Creating a nurturing atmosphere where understanding is at the pinnacle is important. And Jubilee fails at inhabiting that atmosphere, although they certainly try. Or at least that's what they want you to think. The Jubilee Middle Ground series is a shell of what it attempts to be. It's a cheap, shallow, and ineffective act of performativity that pretends to be groundbreakingly conversational. In fact, I actually meant that definition to describe Jubilee's YouTube channel as a whole, because after I had already filmed this video, they released a video on International Women's Day where 100 women decide which one of them has the most perfect body, and it is the most insane, outrageous, out of touch video I have ever seen or even heard of. What were they thinking? But this just further proves my point that Jubilee is terribly performative and reductive, and that them pretending to be progressive is so clearly opportunistic because they just genuinely don't get it. Clearly. But it also isn't technically debate. It lies somewhere awkwardly in between. Sure, debate can be performative too, but it has structure. Debate has rules. There's a name to the game. This is 8 people in a circle yelling at each other with no mediators and limited fact-checking. Not much unlike your family dinner.
You're interrupting me.
But you were correct. I'm just saying. I'm agreeing with you.
They asked you not to comment, and you're commenting. So if you could stop, that would be great. Thank you.
Victims can be victims anywhere. So when I'm saying it's a trans bathroom issue is so ignorant.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, what I believe. And then I'll respond.
Don't throw fucking forks at people. Don't throw forks at people.
If your goal is to have a conversation that reaches some point of understanding, first of all, you need less people. Discussing controversial things requires delicacy, and it's very easy to overpower that requirement for vulnerability when you're sitting with a herd of people. Any 2 strangers can fight, but we must feel safe before dancing with someone. And the safer we feel, the more comfortable we are to let our partner in, to share more about ourselves, to unlock our secret memory chambers that even we were surprised to open. And it is in these hidden rooms that we can find the context that the internet erases, the backstory that social media obscures, and the human being freed from the online avatar. This is frankly unachievable with Jubilee's Middle Ground series. There is no room for productive discourse. But of course, I think that was their plan all along. Because as long as they frame this series as productive, or as an open discussion, or as progressive, they're not going to catch any flack. Jubilee loves the arguments. It brings them more discourse in their comments, feeding their video to more people and giving them more money. Why do you think it took them so long to bring on a mediator? You also can't call something an open discussion if you heavily edit out context just so your video hits a length that the YouTube algorithm is happy with. Sure, okay, the uncut version is going on Patreon, but you're promising people a nuanced discussion and giving them a montage of the most heated parts.
They just chopped it out.
completely just removed it. There was one part here where they're talking about whether or not, changing sides was traumatic. The one guy says something, and in the uncut version, then it's my turn to talk. It just cuts out in this version.
Now, although this series isn't technically a debate, it still derives the same feeling that you get when you watch debates. That anger, it really gets you riled up. The only productive thing this warped rage bait version of a conversation is doing is making you, the viewer, angry. And just like debates, these argu-sations, I'm copywriting that, are creating and furthering divide due to their unproductive and performative nature. Now, it would obviously be different if these videos were done well, if they were actually cared for and effort was actually put in. Because there are a lot of nuanced and difficult conversations that Jubilee is trying to tackle, so there is potential. But because the motivation to make these videos comes from a more insincere and disingenuous place, there really isn't that much thought put into it. Jubilee is just one of the millions of content machines that just pumps out videos. Their popular content just happens to be very controversial and important issues. So it's a lot fucking worse than like Sniper Wolf, who just recycles her content and makes AI-generated thumbnails now. Which is new. That's new. But with Jubilee, there are far worse consequences. Especially since the forefront of their topics tend to revolve around marginalized people and marginalized issues. Yes, the conditions, generally speaking, that they place their contestants in are typically volatile. This, however, is more so emphasized for the marginalized people included in these videos. The name middle ground can inherently create false equivalencies. It infers that among the topics that are being discussed, the two sides on either end are of equal value. And the reason for that is because this series started with liberals versus Democrats. Now, this makes sense considering the fact that debate in the US became popular due to the two-party system, as well as that liberal and Democrat have become very general, almost umbrella-like terms. And Jubilee wanted a new way to create conversation in spite of division. But as I mentioned in the intro, this becomes very convoluted when you run out of ideas and have to go to very specific or just host really disproportionate groups of people. Videos like fat versus skinny people, liberal teens versus conservative parents, pro-vax versus anti-vax, men's rights versus feminists, flat earthers versus scientists. The worst example being Israelis versus Palestinians.
We know the prisons are filled with children. They're terrorists too. They're murderers.
If you threw a rock, you're a terrorist.
Yeah.
What? And it isn't to say that I don't think any of these people could come to some sort of an understanding. I'm more so bothered by the message this video and others like it are portraying, saying that both of these groups of people are the same, that they are just two sides of the same coin, when in reality they could not be further from the same. One group of people is actively massacring the other. I mean, come on, it's not even close.
18,000 people died. The ratio is 1 to 100. 1 to 100. This is the most capable military in the world. You can't be more accurate. Your ratio can't be better than 1 to 100.
Yeah, because they're hiding inside hospitals.
So go on the ground.
Frankly, it's disrespectful and straight up evil to expect a group of people to see eye to eye with their oppressors, especially within this unproductive argu-sation bubble that Jubilee has created. This establishes a false narrative that is equally as troubling as it is believable. Because how many impressionable kids are on the internet? Like all of them. It almost feels like propaganda. On top of the false equivalencies, Jubilee tends to let their opportunistic tendencies get the better of them, with videos like black conservatives versus white liberals, or white feminists versus POC anti-feminists, or male feminists versus female anti-feminists. I mean, this just feels like if semantics were a YouTube channel. This is the definition of purposefully unproductive. These videos, in my opinion, are actually worse than debates.
Because literally, what are we doing here? It's like they're trying to find the most contradictory, averse groups of people and then labeling them with big woke buzzwords and pitting them against each other. If you can't get a woman feminist to agree with a male anti-feminist, in their words, then what makes you think you can do the inverse, which is substantially more difficult? I mean, why the fuck would a woman who is not a feminist see eye to eye with a man who is? He's a man. They don't share the same experiences. How are you going to expect a straight man to discuss the nuances of being a woman? That doesn't make any sense. Same thing with white feminists and POC anti-feminists, and black conservatives with white liberals. The women of color are more likely to see eye to eye with other women of color, the black conservatives with other black people. I mean, this is infuriating. We don't need white saviors, and we don't need staunch differences. We need understanding. We need a middle ground. If Jubilee actually cared, they would make it easier for that to come to fruition, not more difficult. But they won't, because the people behind them know what makes you tick.
They know it's going to aggravate you, and they know it's going to make you want to watch. This, unfortunately, tends to harm marginalized groups more so simply because of the false narratives being created and because they're being used as punching bags for entertainment. This also creates infighting among the working class when we should be coming together as a community. Capital strikes again. We're becoming an extremely divisive society, and channels like Jubilee are only part of the problem. There is definitely potential for good to come from this series, but seeing as they've been doing it for 6 years now, I don't see that happening anytime soon. Honestly, the only thing I can leave you with is go talk to people, get out of your bubble, and go talk to different people. Jubilee veiling their videos as conversation will only blur the meaning of real conversation. Conversation that connects at a very deep and empathetic level. Conversations that are perfectly okay to have with no cameras. And just fucking humans, please. Not everything needs to be content, god damn. We need human connection, especially in the West where we're prioritizing suburban isolated living and have to drive a car to get virtually anywhere. Isolation is an epidemic, and it's part of the reason why we watch shit like Jubilee, because we have nothing else to do. It's what they want, but I'm here to tell you, you're more than just a consumer. You're a person too, and I love you. So stop giving them your attention because they don't care about you. But you know who does? Me. So you should subscribe right now and become a patron today. You get a shout out, exclusive content, and what's that, a podcast I'm really bad at doing, but we'll do better over time. I'm sorry. Okay, bye.